What's up, everyone? This is John with Things That Fun, and man, it's beautiful weather. I should be out driving my Lotus today, but it's not back together yet. So this is day 4, I believe. Just got some parts in. I just got all the shims ordered. I had to order a good bit of shims. I ordered extras just to be on the safe side to set the valve clearances. So I got a bunch of those ordered. They'll be here in a couple of days. Ordered those from JAE. Also got the Loctite 518 that I'm going to use for the cam tower sealant, and this adds an insignificant amount of height. It goes on so thin. You just basically paint it with a paintbrush on both surfaces just so it's just pinkish, and that way it won't affect the valve shim clearance. So it doesn't add enough height to alter that. And box of goodies from JAE arrived today. Gasket kit, awesome. So I didn't order just the head gasket, but the whole upper gasket kit. Came with some extra stuff that I'm not gonna need though, but it'd be nice to have all these, have some spares anyway. The bolt kit, God, this was expensive, but worth it. For the head studs and nuts. And I did confirm, I talked to another Lotus specialist, said just go by the torque settings, not to worry about the angle gauge. Because if you use the torque settings they recommend for this, which is 110, and then use the angle gauge on top of that, it'll be too much and probably end up breaking something. So I'm just going to go with the torque settings they specify. I believe it's 110 with their specific lubricant. Thermostat, I'm not sure if that's what caused the head gasket to blow. I'm still leaning towards that it got lean. It was under boost. Lotus specialist I spoke to kind of thought the same thing as well. So I'm replacing the thermostat just to be on the safe side. And the timing belt, cam belt. Man, over $100, but well worth it. Have the upgraded one. So the good thing is I have things I can work on while waiting on the shims. I'm going to go ahead and fit the cam belt back on. Of course it won't go around the cam towers or the cam sprockets at the moment, but I can go ahead and get all the work down below done where I have to put this around the crank pulley and then put the brackets back on and all the other belts. So that's going to be kind of tedious. So it's good to have, even though I'm waiting on stuff, I can still get a lot done, getting that done. So that is the plan for today. So time to change into my greasy clothes and get started. Well, I've got all the belts on my Esprit changed, and it was pretty easy. Said no one ever since the beginning of time. The belts are on there. It was a pain in the butt, but they're on there, including the timing belt, other than getting a timing belt over the cam sprockets. There's just so little space to work in there, and you're on top of the engine. I mean, some of the, like, I think one of the belts I was able to do from underneath, and it was for the AC, and it was pretty easy. The rest of them, you got, it's all from the top of the engine laying on top. It's super uncomfortable, and you can barely get your arms in there and hands in there, and it's just not fun, but it's done. But I did find something else. I don't know if you can see it on that hose right there. It's got a cut in it. I don't know what did that. Probably the belt. Probably one of the belts. Probably the timing belt, actually. But glad I saw it before it busted loose. And even better, I should have a spare in here somewhere. When I rebuilt the engine a while back, I bought 2 sets of hoses. I can't remember why. One was taking too long to get or something. But anyway, so I should have a spare of that in there, fortunately, so that won't be any extra downtime. There were a couple things I wasn't able to completely tighten right now because I don't want to turn the crankshaft. So with this design, there are liners for the pistons, and they are removable. And when you rebuild an engine or you put it together with this engine, you seal, or some use Loctite type of material to seal the cylinder liners in. And when the head's on there, they prevent them from moving at all, but with the head off, it is possible to, if you rotate the crankshaft, the pistons going up and down can break those liners loose. And if you do that, you break the seal and coolant gets into the sump. It's basically an engine pull. You might be able to do it with it. No, it's an engine pull because you got to take the pistons out. It's definitely don't want that to happen. But there are other people that have said that they've had to put tens of tons of pressure on those liners to get them out after they've been put in and sealed. So it's unlikely that they would move if I turn the crank, but I don't want to take any chances. Definitely don't want to pull this engine out again and go through that. So anyway, so there's a couple pulleys that I could not torque down because doing so would turn the crankshaft, and I don't want to do that. So I'll wait till I get the cam towers and sprockets back on with the timing belt on, and then I can lock the crank down, and it'll keep it from moving so I can tighten those down. So other than that, I'm going to replace that hose today. Maybe a couple other small things, and then wait on the shims to arrive. They were supposed to arrive tomorrow, but something got screwed up with the shipping, so it'll be 2 days. So tomorrow will probably be an easy day, cleaning up and doing some other odds and ends. But still hoping I'll have it done by the weekend. Today is Tuesday. Still holding out hope that I'll have this thing running by the weekend. So we will see. actually feel like I'm moving forward now. Instead of like the disassembly phase, it feels like now that I'm putting stuff back together, I'm making really good progress. So I got the old head studs out and the new APC ones in. They're not torqued down. I still got to research that. They're just hand tight, and from what I understand, you just barely, I mean, that's all you do is hand tight them till they bottom out. But I'll probably put a wrench on them just to make sure each one of them is bottomed out, not a lot of torque. I cleaned up the mating surfaces for the cylinders and the head itself. Just wiped it down with some carb cleaner, got the oil and antifreeze and coolant out of there. Used a little bit of a Scotch-Brite on some spots that had a little residue, but didn't want to do a whole lot of that. I am not going to clean inside the cylinders and get that carbon off. Some people gave some good advice on the forums and basically said you start knocking that off, you're not going to get all that grit out. It's going to be on the cylinder wall, and it's just going to get down in the rings and cause scoring and problems. So what I did is I just used a little bit of a paper towel to soak up some of the oil and coolant that's in there, and I'll probably do that again, and then maybe blow it out just with a little bit of compressed air, and maybe even use my wet dry vac just to get the last little particles in there and just to get out anything that's on the surface. I got out as much coolant as I could from around the cylinders. Used a pump and then got a rag in there and soaked it up. And I replaced that hose. That one's got a small nick on it. I remember now, that's the first one I used, and I nicked it with a pipe clamp right there on top. But it doesn't go all the way through. I think it's just surface. I checked it. It seems good. But that's an easy one to replace after I put everything in. Well, not easy, but it's replaceable after I do everything if it does have a problem. And if it does leak right there, I'll know it right away. It'll be steam coming up from the top, but it looks fine. I've got the thermostat replaced. That's when it really hit me that, hey, I'm actually putting stuff back together and, you know, getting back to normal. All the belts are on. I still have to tighten up that water pump belt pulley and the crank pulley, but all the belts are on. The timing belt is routed and just waiting for the head and the cam towers to be put back on and have that looped back around. I really feel like I'm making progress now, so it's just a matter of getting the rest of the parts in, really. So the parts will be here, the shims, I'm waiting on shims, will be here day after tomorrow. I looked around town, tried to find some. There's some that'll fit that are from a Saab 99 and a TR7, share the same shims, but nobody had anything that would fit. I actually got in touch with a guy I met. He's a pretty well-known Lotus guy throughout the country, I believe, and I met him a while back. He has a V8 twin turbo of his own. Does does restorations. But anyway, I called him this morning to see if he had shims by chance, and I left a voicemail, so I didn't hear back from him right away. So I just ordered them from JAE, and then he called me back about an hour after I ordered them and said he's got hundreds of them, and I could come down there and rummage around and swap out what I needed and get what I needed. But yeah, I'd already ordered them, so it's good to know there's a guy nearby that's got that kind of parts and expertise. But he gave me some good info about some of the, torquing down the head bolts, and some info about the timing belt. I'm actually going to use the tuning method for the timing belt. The belt tension gauge is ridiculously expensive. So people have found a way with an app on your phone. It's a tuning app, like tuning a guitar or something. They figured out what hertz the belt resonates at for the correct tension. So, and this guy confirmed that. He said he's tested the tuning method against his ridiculously expensive gauge. I can't remember what it was called exactly. And he said it's like within 5%. the differences, and he said that's way less than what Lotus sets as a range that you need. So I'm definitely going to do that. Other than that, I'm going to get stuff cleaned up for today and actually relax a little bit this evening. Getting done way before dark, and I'm not totally banged up and greasy. So anyway, probably get a few things done tomorrow. So see you then.